The best fire starter for your wood stove is free. In this video I'm going to show you how to find it, how to collect it and how to use it. To find it, start up your drone. Of course, it's not necessary, especially if you know your area. Of course, I know some spaces where I can collect it, but we might get some nice pictures and I'm having some fun flying. So let's go out there and find fire starters. So this is actually what we are looking for. White trees, birches. But we need to find a lot of them. Usually it goes somewhere back there. But just to prove a point, I like to check somewhere back down there. Because the more they are, the higher is the chance that you'll find a fallen one, and we need fallen ones. I don't see anything fallen here. Maybe this is a bunch. Yeah, I would say let's go there and see if we are lucky. All we need for that is a knife and a big bag. And I'm really late this time. I usually already have such a bag in my basement that will last all winter long. And from tomorrow on there will be the next batch of snow. So it's nicer to do that when it's a tiny bit warmer and drier. And I really hope we'll find what we are looking for there where we just seen it with a drone. That'll be back there. So let's go there. Electric poles seem to be interesting to dogs, even if they are out in the nowhere. We're getting closer. Our little Bulgarian experience. Stuff like that you find everywhere. It's a horse's skull because they are slaughtering horses out in the fields. They are free roaming, so it's actually quite good for the horses. Here we are. That doesn't look too bad because of storm lately. Knocked down quite a bit, but usually I prefer thicker stems. Yeah, they don't look great, but let's see if we can harvest some of it. It's actually always nice if they've been laying there for quite a while, like a year or so, because I'll show you. It's relatively hard. I don't know if that will work. I usually make a cut along the long side and on the wide side lift the corner and take it off like that. Sometimes you get like the whole round. The more rotten the wood beneath is, the easier it comes off. And the more rotten the wood is, the lighter the whole stem is getting. And you can lift it to go all around. This isn't really a good one. See, like sheets like that. This is actually quite a good piece because it's really thin. It's only the outer layer. Never ever take it off a healthy tree. That will damage it quite badly. If you're in a situation where you really need to make a fire, what you can do is taking off the outermost layers. There will be always some, they will burn as well, but you need quite a bit because they're super thin. Stuff like that. It's an excellent fire starter. I'll try to collect some more of all that. Not all. The guy that called me last time was a friend having time to collect some wood. And what do you need fire starters for if you don't have enough wood? So that had priority. In the meantime, it snowed, it rained, it was ugly weather. So now we're 2 weeks later and I'm at my usual spot. At the place we've been before. The trees haven't been rotten long enough, actually hardly rotting. So now here we are at one of my usual spots. I collect them, and something like that is a good sign that there is something to get. And as we can see, I've already been here with the straight cuts and pulled off materials everywhere where it was easy to get. Now I'll see if I'll get some more out of it, because it's 1 or 2 years later. Here I already made a cut the last time I've been here, but there's some more white trees around, so I'm confident I'll find a bit more. Right, Lizzie? This is actually a good example why you want rotten wood. It's a small bit, hardly worth to collect it, but it's pretty much hollow. The more rotten it is, you just have to push it together and all the insides will fall out. Nice and emptied out piece of bark. Here's the thing, you really want only the outest of bark. So everything that's woody will prevent it from burning nicely. It will still burn. Yeah, nice and easy. Nice one. And Talking about rotten, if it's really rotten, the wood, then you can just pick them up, easy like that. And this stuff is so full of resins and oils that it's protecting the tree very, very well. Unless, of course, it's down on the ground and through little holes, and from both ends water will get in. But as you can see, the wood itself rots away while the protection layer still stays intact, and for years and years all the oils will stay in here and will give you still a really nice fire starter. Well, you get the idea. I'll keep on collecting a little bit more. For now, I have all these. Quite a big bag. So with what I already have at home, that should last for the whole winter. And I'll see you home at the wood stove, and I'll tell you how to use them, how they work and how they react with a fire. And to show you what happens if you leave the inner bit of the bark on. Let's see what happens if we light this. So that's the just collected bit. It's pretty wet, so that's why it takes a while to start burning. And it stops right there. If you have it in a proper setup fire, of course, it will keep on burning relatively nicely, but just to start the fire, this bit needs to be off. My dad and the Boy Scouts taught me that newspaper is the thing to start your fire. But when I moved here, no one has lived in these houses for over 20 years, and there was so much humidity in there that every piece of paper I brought in was damp within a second. Starting my fire, that didn't really work out for me until my neighbor brought me a big piece of this stuff. From then on, I used only this, went to the forest, collected it. What are you using to start your fire? This is now my experience for over 6 years. Now I collected different kinds of birch bark. There's a really dry and thin stuff I picked off the ground. Something thicker, that's of rotten trees, and the lighter material that comes off freshly fallen trees. What they all have in common is they have a grain, and along this grain, just like off the tree, you can rip them apart quite easily and you'll get the stripes. They come in quite handy. On the other hand, against the grain, it's really hard, and if they are really fresh and they are even thicker ones than this one I'm having, it's impossible to rip it apart. You would need a tool for it. You will end up with all kinds of shapes, but use it for your advantage. For example, this one, I would use this bit as a fuse to the larger bit. Then you place your kindling all on top of that. So you can start the fire in the middle of your setup. Talking about setup, I made another video. I'll put a link at the end of this one where you can see the setup that I am having, and I'm using these in there and it works like a charm. Another thing they all have in common is if you put them flat down on a piece of wood, put your kindling on and weigh it down even more, like everything you want to set on fire needs some air ventilation around it. So if it's flat down on a piece of wood, it will not burn. What will happen on the other hand if there's some other fire source around it, close to it? The heat will push quite an amount of all the oils in there into the bigger log. So when the fire finally reaches this area, you'll see that this log will start burning on this one spot. If it's dry enough, then it might set the whole log on fire, especially if you have a load of this material in there. Other than that, it depends on the kindling, on the small bits and pieces you're putting on. Like in the worst case, maybe a bit like that might be already enough if you have nice material on top of it. With birch bark, you can't fail starting a fire. And usually it works for me with one ignition. That's it. I'll hope next time you're walking through your forest, you will have your eyes open, a knife and a bag with you. I wish you good luck with your fire starting. Stay warm and see you in the next one.